turned down.
It's kind of low now, but
Is that to soothe us?
Mhm.
It's for the
60s
auto.
pop, so I don't know. The Beatles are playing right now.
It's for the auto tuning. So when you make a mistake or whatever, they can like really like roll through it and just keep playing it against. Put some music to it. Do the whole thing.
I like it.
Right,
Music's
we are
always
recording.
part of the creative economy. So yeah, we're letting the audience in now.
Okay. Oh, I see. Mr. Sidman's the first one to the party.
Hi, Mr. Stidman. Glad he joined us.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. No, still good morning.
Oh, look at that. You got your Sunday best on too in that picture, Steve.
Well, it was either that or the album cover art from Parliament's Funkadelic versus the Placebo Syndrome, because my video's not working right now. So I figured you'd rather see my ugly mug than, 70s funk album cover.
Hey, Steve, I have a quick question before we start.
Yes.
I've been approached by a young woman in Atlanta who is interested in the creative economy, and I'm going to be talking with her on Saturday, but she thinks she wants to be an entertainment lawyer, and she's applied for law school. So if it's okay with you, after I talk to her, if I think it's worth your while, can I introduce you to her so you can?
Even if you don't think it's worth my while, you are more than welcome to introduce her to me.
Okay.
I will, yes, by all means.
Because I thought, well, she needs to talk to someone who's actually doing it. And I thought, I know someone who's in Atlanta who's actually an entertainment lawyer.
There you go.
Her mother approached someone that I knew from Wake, and it's like one of those little.
I have given scores, perhaps even hundreds of those. I've had hundreds of those discussions over the course of the last quarter century. So happy to do it. Happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Yes. So we're getting ready.
Yeah.
As I say, we're fixing to get ready. All right, I'm gonna mute myself now because otherwise it's just gonna be
Yeah.
stream of consciousness dribble.
Feel free to put questions in the chat if you want to get them to say things that to ask some hard questions. So Nicole will kind of curate the chat and make sure we get some questions for you at the end.
Sure. No problem. I have a feeling this group can work through it one way or another.
And Coleman registered. I don't know if he's going to be joining, but he did register. Just a few more minutes. We're getting there.
I think we're on the early side anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're all having this lovely weather today. I know it's just, we're socked in. There's no visibility at all. And it's kind of rainy and dreary. Typical March weather. And New York is bad too, Keith?
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad this week, but today it's like the temperature's dipping down again. So it's in the low 40s and raining right now. So just dreary couple of days ahead, unfortunately.
Dreary days ahead.
Yeah. But just, for March, we had a particularly hard winter up here this year, actually. So for the past 5 or 6 winters, it's been so mild up here that you kind of forget about what it's like to have a real winter,
Right.
So definitely different. It's like, see what else they can pile on everybody this year.
Yeah, right. In addition to COVID, let's just have
Yeah.
a horrible wet spring and cold.
Yeah. I mean, we're all like, for us, you know, in the restaurant industry and everything that we're doing, like there's such an excitement, you know, once you get north of the Mason-Dixon line about having nice weather to like be able to eat outside now and really understanding how important the outdoor dining component is. Before it was like, okay, you know, you get these extra seats 6 months out of the year. How do we make this work? And now it's like, okay, how do we make it work 12 months out of the year? How do we actually take the streets back and the sidewalks back and build them into the communities and do these things? And things that everybody kind of thought as a bonus before, it's just like a lifeline right now, right? So,
Right, right. And we have venues using their parking lots to have concerts because they can't have enough people inside to have the concert. So they can use their parking lot and then broadcast the music out there.
well, you guys have the added advantage of having like outdoor parking lots, you know,
Right.
actually visible outdoor parking lots so you could see the sky from, you know, not 4 levels underground or in some, you know, crazy structures.
Right.
You know, all the little things that you take for granted. Even when we were down there getting COVID tested, the fact that we could pull into a parking lot and someone would just come over, you open up your window in the car and they test you like right through your window and do those things, which is like the niceties that come with those kinds of things as a result of having some space. It's really, it's very good.
Yeah. So we were just letting people join. Nicole, is it still a lot of people coming in or should we get going or what do you think?
I think we can get started. I'll keep admitting people as they come in, but I think we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, great.
But real quick, Margaret, I'm sorry to interrupt. Like Coleman just said that he can't find his way onto this. So I don't know if anybody else is having trouble too.
Okay, I'll share my screen and then let Margaret get started and I'll make sure Coleman can get in.
You have to log in to Eventbrite, which is kind of unusual for a Zoom meeting.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, I thought that we, oh, okay.
Yeah, we're working out some kinks on our end.
Well, the link that
here.
the link that I eventually got in through somebody sent me. I think I'm not sure if it was Brittany you sent over to me or Nicole or whoever did, actually avoided having to go through Eventbrite to get on.
Yep.
Okay. So welcome everyone. Hello. My name is Margaret Collins and I'm the founding executive director of the Center for Creative Economy. And you have entered a momentum. This is a monthly meetup that we have for the creative economy here in Winston-Salem, but we are now incorporating people from all over the country and internationally. We are so glad you joined us. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers today. And I wanted to just say that the CCE is in our big news is that our Kinetic cohort, which is our idea stage companies, are in the 3rd week of a 4-week boot camp. And we're very excited to help budding entrepreneurs in taking the first steps to start their business and change the creative economy. The final pitches are next Saturday, March 27th. And if you'd like to hear them, just put a note in the chat and we will send you the link. And as a matter of fact, all throughout this presentation, if you have questions for our speakers, please feel free to put questions in the chat and we will be curating those and making sure you get those questions answered at the end. Okay. I'm going to just talk a little bit about Momentum. You can do the next slide. Yes, Momentum is a monthly meeting. It's also an online directory. It is an interactive collaboration amongst creatives. It is a membership organization. We encourage you, if you're interested in the topics that you're seeing being presented this week and this month and throughout the year, please feel free to join us. We would love to have you as part of our Momentum community. Next slide. There is a membership fee to join Momentum. There you see it, but you You get access to all of the recordings and any slides that the speakers have, and we also provide interconnectivity among members and lots of interesting meetups. So, going ahead to the next slide. We are here today to introduce, to have a wonderful conversation about the future of the food economy. And with us today, we have two amazing people that have a lot of experience in this space. And I'm going to introduce them first, and then they're going to say a little bit about their work, and then we're going to have some questions. So first, I want to introduce Keith Durst. He is the principal in his advisory firm, FOC, which is based in New York City. He is known for his ability to develop strategic deal structures that set parties up for success and enable good deals between good people. By identifying strategies that create synergies, Keith leverages hospitality to ensure revenue opportunities are maximized. He is a New York licensed attorney and real estate broker and a founding member of the New York City Food and Beverage Hospitality Council, which was appointed by the mayor. He is known for his passion, integrity, reliability, and his success in opening restaurants, which have earned multiple Michelin stars. He is currently working with several of the top 50 restaurateurs in the world on concepts that will be released in a few years. He is working with several New York City operators on fast casual concepts from beginning through rollout. And that's just like a little bit of the bio he sent me, but he'll share more about his work in this program. And Margaret Norfleet-Neff is probably known by most of you on this call. She is the co-creator of Verde, a creative collaborative with sustainable food at the core of its programming. She also works with larger projects where food needs include shared use kitchens, market concepts, or agriculture ventures. She is known for taking on challenging projects that create synergy and economy in communities where food, people, and creative thinking are key players. Margaret's experience in creative businesses include the local Cobblestone Farmers Market right here in Winston, and has led her to consult on adaptive reuse development projects around the US. These projects embrace essential food components such as kitchen incubators, accelerators, and food markets, which respond to the need for job growth and greater access to good food. And we have been fortunate at CCE to work with Margaret when we have a food-related startup and entrepreneur. She's so generous with her time to help them get on the right path. So I'm going to now ask each of them to say a few words just about their work, what they'd like to share with you, and then we'll go into some questions on the panel. So Keith, would you like to start?
Happy to start. So thank you, Margaret. I have a small advisory firm, about 12 people on my team, and we're all former restaurateurs, actually not former anymore. We started taking on some operations again, but we all come from the restaurant and hospitality world, whether that's me, where I've come from opening up some small multiple Michelin star restaurants and kind of working through into hospitality hotels and getting involved that way, or other people on the team that have worked at large organizations from stadiums to racetracks to fast casual concepts, and very different people on the team having very different roles, dealing with branding, dealing with lifestyle, and dealing with all financial underwriting from beginning to end. So a couple of people on the team with very strong financial backgrounds. And really what we do is we help identify needs based on real estate and hospitality and how they converge in up and coming communities, neighborhoods, areas, as well as across different platforms, from hotels, residential buildings, commercial buildings, office buildings, and neighborhood generation for small secondary markets in the Northeast, as well as from different areas around the country. We currently have projects active in 10 different states. A lot in the Southeast. We've really been focusing on the Southeast for some time now. A couple of different really interesting projects happening in the Midwest, and of course a lot of things happening always in the Northeast where we're originated. We really seek to build partnerships. We deal with every aspect of the business that we work on, we consider partnership, whether that's a landlord-tenant relationship, a restaurateur relationship with his or her employees. We seek to kind of build teams from beginning all the way through end. I think we've had really good success in doing that. And during this past 12-month period where everyone has really struggled to try to keep restaurants, independent restaurants, and hospitality afloat, we've certainly pivoted throughout that 12-month period to try to find and help these people and help our groups and actually build different aspects of their hospitality to keep them in business moving forward and making changes as they go. I'm happy to talk to and address any different aspects of that, from getting started in hospitality all the way through developing small concepts, working for independent groups and or larger groups, and where we think that they fit in local economies and national economies here and abroad as well.
Wow, that was a great overview. Thank you so much.
Sure.
As you can see, he has quite a breadth of experience, but has a real heart for community and really likes to empower those in the local community where he works to grow and do the work themselves. Margaret, how about you sharing a little bit about your most recent work and what you've developed?
Well, first, I mean, Keith, can I just come work with you? That's like so much fun, for sure. It's painful to talk about what I do, but I'd love to talk about what we do. And just, I'll just say that I kind of grew up in a food family. My dad ended up having some restaurants, so I've definitely moved the salad dressing and everything from the back end to the front end and that sort of thing. So I have a big place in my heart for restaurants, which has just led to food all the way around. Our little company, all women, Verde, evolved about maybe 12 years ago. And I think before that, I'll just call myself a serial starter. I love to solve problems, and I love people, and I love communities, and somehow that everything I've done up till now and what we do centers around those things. So we solve problems in small ways and sometimes in big ways. Now this little company also works with a larger company in Baltimore, and we work across the country in a number of different projects that are community-based, not only around food, but around jobs and catalyzing economies. So in that way, I think, Keith, we cross over in so many ways. It's going to be a great fun to talk with you this morning for sure. So in terms of the breadth of Beta Verde, the Cobblestone Market, which everyone is familiar with, we started, it was a baby on the doorstep kind of startup for us, because we were involved in the market with a small product. It was a Tuesday morning market, and realized that the extraordinary talent of our producers, our farmers, and that sort of thing in the area were not being placed in a position where they could make strong sales, expand their business, this sort of thing. And that kind of led us down this market path on and moving a market to a Saturday. So just to give you an idea, we started with 15 producers, and we're now have an umbrella of 60. And so that's just a description of how we want to support people from the back end, but also create a platform for folks to succeed. And I think that runs across all of our projects. We're working on an $80 million project in Dayton, Ohio, that is around food drivers and innovation drivers, entrepreneurial drivers. And yet again, it's the people, the place, and what is the connection that brings people together. And so often it is food. So I actually think I'll stop there and kind of jump into some fun stuff, but I thought that might give you just a little paintbrush of what we do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Wow. You can see that both of these amazing entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders have a real heart for community and empowering the communities in which wherever they're working to be able to take on big challenges and solve their problems. So that's kind of why we're here today. We wanted to talk about the future of the food economy here in Winston-Salem. And we have so many food entrepreneurs, we have a lot of growers, we could potentially have more, but we really need a better infrastructure and a vision for it. And so we wanted to kind of explore that with these two leaders in this area to say, kind of why Winston-Salem? Why are you both interested in Winston-Salem? And kind of what would you see as a vision for how could Winston-Salem really capitalize on our growing population? Many people are moving here. And, there is a beginning of a very lively culinary scene. And why Winston, and what do we have to offer the food industries and the restaurant industries, hospitality?
Margaret, you want me to jump in and kind of get started? Sure. So we started, so Winston-Salem for me and for my team came about, I guess, I can't believe I'm saying this, maybe close to 2 years ago now, where I have a good friend and an attorney who happens to be on this call, and I can't believe hasn't fought through the mute button to say something by now. Steve Sidman, who came to me and said, listen, we have this community, and he was born and raised in Winston, and I think that you ought to come and take a look at it. I think that there's some good people down here getting ready to do some things, and I think that if you're willing to take a shot at coming out and look at this community and see what you think, and tell us what you think. And Steve doesn't really actually do that a lot with us in terms of different places that he's so high up on, and he said at the same time he has a group that he thinks is ready to, like, that is also from the local community, that wants to develop and wants to do really interesting things around hospitality and really has a feel for it and really understands it. And that's the Front Street Capital team, and Coleman team is on the call here as well. And so when Steve said that to us, and we had a call with Coleman and his group, and it became immediately to us people that we liked and wanted to get to know better. And I brought a good group of our team members down there. I can't remember if the first trip, if we brought like 6 or 7 or maybe more of the team to come down and take a look, because we've been looking for different markets throughout the Southeast, throughout the Mid-Atlantic, and different areas. And we presented a lot of opportunities. And what we found is, and we were all familiar with Asheville. We all knew some of the people in Asheville that had been there. We're familiar with Raleigh and Durham. And we actually have a friend that has a hotel in Durham, and somebody that we had spent some time with and met with in the past. We knew about the research triangle and all that and everything that was going on. But what we also found was, with our experiences of getting to, and how difficult it was getting to Asheville and doing different things, and how easy it was for us to get to Winston on that first trip. And literally, 3 different airports in New York all had hourly flights in the morning, all getting to Greensboro. It was so simple for us to get there. For us to go visit with friends on Eastern Long Island or upstate New York, it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. We actually, the first time we went out there, from the time we left our homes, it was anywhere from 2 hours and 10 minutes to 3.5 hours to when we were in Winston. And wow, this makes a lot of sense for us right away. Now let's see what the community's like. And going down there, and really, I mean, I obviously have to thank Steve and Coleman for setting up. They spent a significant amount of time touring us around and really showing us the community that they love, that they're from, and really what it means to them. And Steve, as I hope everybody here will get to know over time, whether it's for pro bono legal work or otherwise, I think as everybody should get to know over some time, I think is that like, he really loves it here, and obviously Coleman and his family from being here. And so for us, kind of seeing it through that lens and going to different restaurants, talking to different people, seeing the kind of third wave, like, coffee culture community that's already starting to develop there, seeing some of the higher end interesting food concepts that have already started coming there, and understanding, like, for me, it was like immediately, wow, we have connectivity to the whole country from here. We have forward thinking developers. We have people that want to get involved and stay involved in the community. And right away, that, like, sparks our interest. We have a kind of overarching line that we use in our company, and it's really kind of it's not a credo, but it's more or less something that the company kind of lives by, which is you can't do a good deal with bad people, and you can't do a bad deal with good people. So if we start off every time we think about doing something with someone, we go into this and we say that to ourselves before we walk into the meeting. We want to know who we're dealing with, and when you start off with a group of people that you like and that you have some trust and belief in, and then you start to get to know them as people, and you get to know the community, see the community through their lens. It gets really exciting for us, right? Because we know that we can bring culinary talent, and we can bring different people from different communities. None of that works. And as a matter of fact, not only does it not work, it almost instantly fails as an outsider into a community, dropping something in there without local connectivity and without then bringing the community into it, meaning employing the community into it, providing a path to leadership through in whatever new organizations you're creating and joint ventures you're bringing, and the people that come. It's a whole creation of path, and you don't get that without local leadership being with you from beginning. You need the local leadership and the local economy and the people from the community to be supportive, to the point where we need to know that there's people out there that want to open restaurants, that want to be involved in hospitality, that want to do all these things, that haven't maybe been given the opportunity, or that have worked within organizations that have ceilings and they're not really expanding and providing a real path for giving someone an actual career within the organization. And if we can come in and step in and start drawing from some of the people that are already in the community, put them in leadership positions from day one, and then start building throughout that, like, to me, having that path with the connectivity in the community, which is why we wanted to get interested and excited and start meeting other community and local leaders right away, which is how we got to Margaret and both Margarets here, and how we started wanting to talk to other people like Jeff Bacon in your community, and other groups of people that can actually start providing these kind of entry points to us. You can't do this in every community, and you can't just step into it where you have the community leaders and people from that area that want to do these things and are so interested in helping develop that community. So we know we have that here now. So now it's a matter of us starting to layer in what it is we do with hospitality, and then start to feel like, how do we layer in the local community and start to build this out? And it takes us a long time. Our process, we're 2 years into this, and yeah, COVID slows it down, but we're still years from like developing what we need to develop. But I think as we start to do it, and as we start to finalize where this is going to be and what it's going to be, because we don't really know that for certainty yet, but we're okay with that because we know we're building toward it, and we know we're going to do it. My team knows we're going to do it. My team knows that we're all going to be personally invested. We're going to be buying homes there. We're going to be spending time there. We're going to be doing things to be a part of this community. My family is interested in this. I have a wife that's a veterinary nurse that's worked on large animal farms, that wants to be a part of doing animal rescues and sanctuaries and farming. And we've all spent time wanting to be more of a part of this. We want to be part of the solution of all those things, which is why it's so important for us to get to know Margaret and what she's doing, and seeing how can we cross over, how can we use the resources that she's building to make what we're doing better. And so all this has come together. There's very few communities that we found over the past 2 or 3 years where we have this kind of direct connectivity to the community that we've been able to work with there. And I mean, I could talk about this for another 20 minutes.
Great. Keith, awesome. You did a great job. Okay, so you gave us a really wonderful overview of kind of how you work and what you see about Winston. So Margaret, can you kind of help us understand how can we continue to attract great people like Keith and others, and keep a sustainable lens through this, and in harmony with local farmers and the community's desires? Because I know you work at the core roots of the community. So could you tell us like how your work is so important in the growth of the food economy here, and how we can make sure that it's sustainable into the future?
I can give it a shot. I will totally agree. It's all about good people. And the great thing about this world is most people really are good. So we all have a great place to start there. And I will just say that it's exciting, you know, when the community that you love and care about, or any of these communities that you care about, particularly the ones you live in, are interesting to folks from the outside. So it's a great compliment. And so I think your question leads to why, right? And I would say that there's a number of reasons why that are already here that are really attractive. There's a number of pieces that are in motion, and we still have some barriers to drop. As you know, I work with a lot of producers, a lot of farmers, a lot of makers, a lot of whatever. And 65% of our producers are under the age of 40. That's not a farmer's market, you know, stat. That's a normal one. It's all about aging out, but actually we're aging in. And the other reason I wanted to say that is because so many have young families. They have chosen Winston-Salem. They've chosen this place to grow real businesses, sustainable businesses, and businesses that can support their families and can support their future. So and they can do it here because there's room to grow. There's room to be who they are. There's room for more. And so, you know, wonderful cities that we all know and love to go visit, you know, don't have quite the percentage of creative growth that we have in Winston. The other thing I'll say about Winston, having come from, after living in Chicago, we moved here in 2001. I was born here, but came back in 2001 after 20 years there. And there was just this incredible rumble, you know, of progress and of future in Winston-Salem. And it was palpable, but maybe not seen everywhere, right? So, you know, again, I share that in the terms of there is room to move and to have things happen. In terms of sustainability and agriculture, we are so fortunate in the Piedmont part of this state and part of Virginia that we have some beautiful land, we have clean land, we have good water, we have these, you know, environmental opportunities that definitely need intense nurturing. And that leads to this combination of, you know, production here, safe and beautiful and sustainable production for the long term, which again starts to stack up our sustainable stack, right? Of what are the great amenities, what are the great building blocks that we have to begin to have wonderful culinary hospitality, all kinds of food production, as well as a very key and important component, and that is good food access for all. So, and that good food access for all comes from the opportunity to have autonomy to work, to have, you know, to have a good warm belly full of good food and education, and the opportunity for jobs. So if we kind of look at all of those as the kind of food agriculture ecosystem that we work on, we have pieces in place in Winston-Salem, which makes it extremely attractive. We have talent, we have growing talent, we have culinary talent, and we have training talent. Keith mentioned Jeff Bacon. He has just established one of the great training grounds for restaurant and hospitality, and continues to grow that. And if I can take a minute to put my developer hat on, we'll be doing an additional project with Jeff in our 1001 South Marshall project, which is focused on creative and culinary entrepreneurship. So I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
Okay.
So, well, that was amazing, really helping us understand how we can starting to grow our restaurant and food business. But so in order to do that, we really do have to get into the workforce and training and making sure that we have a workforce and jobs that could support all of this. So what do you all recommend as the way to train the workforce and to grow local jobs within the food economy? What is that going to look like? Obviously, we know Jeff has started with his amazing Providence Kitchen and what he's doing with the Second Harvest Food Bank. But what is that going to look like as we want to expand this and make it a more sustainable and hopping food economy?
Well, I mean, I think it has to start a couple of different ways. And I think some of the things that you have there, and some things that we'd like to help get involved with in as well is, I mean, one of you guys have universities, colleges and university, right there at your disposal. And, we truly believe that there's going to be a somewhat of a shift in the way people are thinking about education now. And we're always wanting to kind of push forward to where we think that the bar is going to be, and as opposed to where it is right now. And there's definitely a need for some small culinary education programs being developed within the universities and local colleges, as well as what's already there. And then what we'd really like to do is be able to provide places that have significant enough infrastructure that gets built that will provide for internships and externships within some of these programs as well. I think that one of the interesting parts of seeing a workforce and how important it is, and how what a lack of capable workforce options are in the Northeast, in towns like New York right now, where there's such a shortage of capable workers for the hospitality industry at this current time, and where you guys down there are fortunate to have a good workforce, a lot of people that are there, and the economy that's growing in the way it is, and the people that are available to work. I think it's really about taking, I think as we start developing this concept, what it's really looks at is, can we take somebody and give them a living wage where we know that we can create an immediate sense of ability for home ownership and future. So how do you do that and still provide for your partnerships, and still run a business in an effective and smart way, and still provide for returns? And you have to do these things. It's you're running a business, and a business at the end of the day, I know my education goes way back to a different century, but there still is something that's shareholder equity and shareholder wealth, and building a community within the business. It still has to make a profit. So how can you do that and create living wages and create ways? So when we start looking at things like that, we're like, okay, in North Carolina, you have a very low tipped wage pool, right? So your tipped wage, what you pay your tipped people, is incredibly low, and then it gets made up for by tips, right? But if we take that and build into our model that instead of paying what the state requires as that wage to be, and we pay 3 times that to start, so we know right away that someone can start in a position like that, and not limit tips and not restructure around that, but make it such a way that we know these people can do so as we start building out financial models and economic models where they're going to be able to go and buy a 2-bedroom home. All right. And the best part of what Winston has to offer in that economy as well is you can buy a really nice 2-bedroom home in a really nice neighborhood there for between 120, 130, $140,000. So how can we help somebody get to earning enough, as Margaret was saying, where they don't have to worry about being able to feed their family? And how can we get them to a point where they're going to be able to save enough to make a down payment on a home and actually provide a living and provide a future for it? If we can get people into these different channels and be able to provide things in that way, and I know that we can, and still run profitable businesses and be able to do that, how can we do that? Well, we can't just rely on the local economy to be able to do that. We know that we need to be able to create something that's a little bit more specialized that will draw some people in. Now, how do we do that? You guys already have some of that. You have Wake Forest that's here. You have Innovation Quarter. You have all these things that are drawing people here. You have major companies that come here and have big positions and different things. You guys have this incredible country club community that's down there. We have people that are willing to have big events and spend and do different things. And so it's a matter of us kind of like tying together, start layering in what a financial model looks like to be able to do all that stuff, and then create jobs and positions where we know people are going to have true living wages, and not looking at this as something that, well, if I have that job, it doesn't really matter. I can go get another job down the street that's going to do this. What we hope for is that we can start creating and recreating what some of these base positions start to be from. So as we start doing that, it kind of hopefully will elevate some of the positions in general. And then as these different groups start to form, it starts to create more careers in hospitality. A lot of communities don't really look at, servers and working in restaurants, and even as a career in hospitality. It's kind of a stepping stone. Well, I'm just going to do this up until there. I know I just need to make a little bit of money while I'm doing this, or something like that. but we can actually start creating career paths all the way through that. And again, that takes business partners that see that and understand that and want not to spend money in training over and over again. We can demonstrate how employee turnover and the cost to train employees is so much more damaging than just paying employees. If you pay employees, give them a path to grow and to be promoted, and spend your money handling that instead of constantly training new employees, constantly having a turnover where you have to have more management because your employees don't know what they're doing because they've only been there for 3 months and they're on their way out the door going to do something else. If instead of spending the money constantly training the same group of people to do different things, a new group of people coming in, if we start investing in these people, they'll be investing back in us, and we'll be spending the same amount of money. The difference is we'll have people that are invested in the building, invested in the businesses that we're doing, and giving them roots in a community and giving them a way up. And that's really, probably a very long-winded way of getting to, answer your question on that. But I think the fact of the matter is you have people that are there that want to work and that do this. And now, maybe even working with some of the local colleges and universities that don't have plans or programs, and seeing if they want to get more involved in that. We have people in our world that are already teaching classes in different sections. And one of the group we're working with today is actually teaching down at the International Culinary School a couple classes right now. We have other people that teach actually at Harvard Food Sciences classes that would love to come down there and teach a class or get involved with Wake or get involved with Salem or one of the colleges down there to do different things. And it's just a matter of, again, it's forming partnerships where people see the value in these things, providing some space where people see the value in these things. And again, that comes down to the associations and the groups that we're working with and making sure that they're getting behind it. And I think with the people that are on this call, if we can get Wake to get behind a couple of these things, if we can get some of the other, groups to get behind a few of these things, we'll start providing more and more paths there. And then we know that if we start hiring the right people and paying them livable wages and salaries and showing them a way forward, that they'll have roots, they'll be homeowners, they'll be building, they'll be doing what they're doing. And for us, that's how you get the people that you want to do, and that's how you retain them, and that's where it goes. Yeah. So Winston-Salem State, I think Margaret, I think you actually had mentioned that the last time we were talking about, how close by it is and those kinds of things. So I think that's where we want to be. And I think that we have lots of opportunity to get there.
So Margaret Norfleet-Neff, how would you, he's kind of laid out a vision, and the community, how would you kind of envision, with the current training, what we're doing with training and obviously the job paths, how would you envision trying to kind of get something going here that we could then ramp it up?
I think the piece is that there are things going, and it's a beautiful vision, and it dovetails with many things that we're seeing. I loved the way that you laid it out, Keith, because of course in culinary hospitality, every position, and in fact every position, every job is really important in our communities. Every single job, and the respect that goes with those jobs, and the work and how that work knits together to make the greater whole is really important. One of the things that you hit on, and yes, we're blessed with universities. We've got School of the Arts, we've got Winston-Salem State, we've got Wake Forest, we've got A&T, we've got Forsyth Tech, we've got Salem College, and it just keeps right on going. So we definitely have partners in both education and opportunities, and incredible students who are going to make this world even so much better very soon. So there's that. I appreciated your point on value, and to answer your question, value and access. The value is there, I believe. Access and knowing what is there is another component. So in looking at, if we're just going to go back to jobs, I wanted to pick up on subsidy number one, because what Keith described is very similar to what we see as our own subsidy in the food industry. when you go to the grocery store versus you're at the farmer's market, the grocery store, there's no way to understand completely the federal subsidies that provide lower prices in the grocery store, or, direct the costs of mass food. At the farmer's market, most of these farmers, if not all of them, receive no subsidy whatsoever for their businesses. So what they produce and what they sell is straight out, and what they pay their employees and all of those things. So the pieces that are there are living wages, just straight out costs, and so, income, revenue, expense, et cetera. And the idea of looking at growing the local economies through agriculture is basically like creating our own subsidy, because as you described, Keith, it is a balance of product, it's a balance of job, it's a balance of income, and how we fit that together as a circle. So it's very heartwarming to put these two together. And what Winston has are, again, a lot of those pieces. Value and access to those opportunities is an important one to keep working on. A farmer's market's not going to do it, but a local and regionally supported grocery system, food system will do it. This is just the beginning of the conversations and the work that can be done and is being done. And as we look to the future of food, so that we reduce waste. We talk about waste. We've seen incredible, opportunities around making really yummy food out of the parts of what's left, and not wasting anything, and sharing it across the board, reframing food so that it becomes meals for other people. I can go on, but I think, you capture this. If there's a focus and an intensity around it, Winston-Salem has almost all the pieces. From our standpoint, training, we have a shared use kitchen. We really believe in those because that drops a barrier for very expensive equipment, that folks are able to come into a shared situation and grow their businesses or augment something. If they have a smaller restaurant, smaller kitchen, but can grow the number of customers they can support, a shared use kitchen supports them by making, a couple items that take more room in a kitchen and then storing them for much less cost than rebuilding a kitchen. These are all these different ways that if we think and put our heads together and share the issues and the barriers, we can drop those barriers very quickly, in my view. Another thing that we actually need in our community is, I don't love this term, my staff, everybody on our team will laugh, but for lack of a better word, a food hub, because food hub means, it's kind of like saying hello in 20 different languages and you don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, but we need a very strong pass-through food hub or for entity, so that we can grow the opportunities for producers to have their products come through and then move out and be distributed. There's a great model for that actually it reduces the middleman just a little bit, where the middle person has a very comfortable, there's very comfortable revenue. I'm sorry, I'm just losing my words there, but it doesn't pass the cost on to the producers or the people on the other end, which would be your restaurants or other folks, so that there's a way to modulate cost.
Is that starting to happen yet? Here? Is that starting to happen yet? Of connecting the local food growers and the supply into the restaurants? And I know it's happening at the farmers market, but how can you expand what the local farmers
I would love to toot the horn of our local producers who are extremely business savvy, most of them, and they know they are connected to the restaurants. But no, we've been talking about it off and on for probably 6 or 7 years. The trick when you're looking at something like that, like anything, and this is what Keith is talking about, we can't put the burden on the city. So it's a private public kind of entity, and it has to come, from multiple sources. And so it's slightly complicated, and very often when you have whoever's at the table may very well not have that much skin in the game, but their organizations do or have some. So I'll say skin in the game is something that's really important in terms of moving things forward. So I know, Keith, what this feels like. It's a matter of risk of both ideas and resources and what, how you coalesce it. But very much, if that gives you an idea of what's needed. The shared use kitchen is coming along because we're able to incorporate it into a project, and we're able to support it through federal subsidies and that sort of thing. In this project, this will free up 50 to 72 to 100 different businesses to grow. So start multiplying that by job.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, so how can, go ahead, Keith.
I guess I'd really kind of like, I don't think that I'm ready to kind of like move past that a little bit. So if you're okay, I think that understanding where you're headed with that, like just a little bit more, because we see a lot of those things happening in different larger cities that we've developed through, but actually like getting some subsidies and trying to figure and getting the infrastructure in line. Is that something that you feel that you and your group are going to be able to like actually like push that through and create that kind of distribution network? And that's like where that's headed?
Yes.
I mean, that's incredibly useful. And it's also, it really changes the way all restaurants and hospitality offerings can start buying and actually better telling the story of where it comes from. And one of the big problems that we face often with small restaurants is how much time does someone have that they can dedicate to purchasing, right? And to actually understanding, and then to knowing what the quality of the product is and how it gets there and everything else that goes. And we like to always kind of build into what that looks like, but it gets really hard for small restaurants to be able to spend the time to dedicate to be able to do all those things on a regular basis without having a tremendous distribution network that kind of comes in and deals with that. So I think that's incredibly exciting, and really will help the whole community like step forward. So that, to me, I'd love to learn more about it and see how far out you think that those things can be, and if there's any way we could be useful, we'd love to be able to help support that in some way.
Absolutely. I mean, it takes so many different people. It was years ago, Dee Dee Johnson with the sustainability department at Wake Forest. I'll give her complete credit for bringing together some of us, as well as representatives from the larger food supplier companies, to look at what a sustainable chain would look like. So we know I don't even need to explain what hasn't happened, but that opened up, our channels of thinking. And then looking at just, again, I can't say enough about the producers in any community, but the ones that we know, they're just too flippin' brilliant. And the great business ideas come from these folks because they're innovative, they're creative, and they're not afraid to think outside the box. And no, neither are we. And I think that's another attraction to this community, I think, is that there's just a free to be you and me kind of component. Yeah, I just told you how old I was, but there you go.
That's a really good segue into our kind of last major question. And we want to make sure we have a chance to address the questions from the group, from the attendees. But so you just addressed that there's so many, the producers are entrepreneurial and are innovative and have great ideas. So, we have a very vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Winston-Salem that we're wanting to encourage new business growth. So how can the Center for Creative Economy and our local entrepreneurial ecosystem, how can we actively support these growing food and beverage entrepreneurs? I mean, what can our ecosystem do to support that? How do we get to know about them, and what do they need in order to continue to grow these businesses?
It's as we see it. So entrepreneurial attitude and spirit, comes in a lot of different forms. But what we find are you're either an entrepreneur or you're not. There's really no drawn line. There's not a line you can't. There's a very strong line you cannot cross there. You're on one side or the other of this. There's some people that the idea of being an entrepreneur and what that means and the risk associated with it. I think Margaret, 2 or 3 times during that conversation brought up risk, and risk is so important to think about when you're dealing with you have a family, you have a job, you have an income, you have to do things. How much skin in the game are you willing to put? How much risk are you willing to put on the line, right? And how much risk tolerance do you have at home when you're sitting at the table talking to your family and understanding what that looks like? And all of us have to wrestle with that on a fairly regular basis. So I think that when we have community leaders here that have been involved and have been a part of a lot of different fundraising over time, a lot of different causes that are developed. And one of the things that sometimes we tend to forget about are the causes in our own backyard as we're starting to think about causes that are on a national basis and different things like that too. So I think, providing some guidance to entrepreneurs and showing them that there's ways of doing it without full risk. And I don't know if it comes in different forms, but I think it comes with spending time with some of our local community leaders and letting them understand what opportunities there are that are out there. But I think it also comes in providing jobs that have limited risk but show an entrepreneur an opportunity. And what I mean by that is we work with a couple of really fantastic hospitality groups, and one of the ones that I'll quote, one of the owner of this group is a group out of DC, and they have 26 bars and restaurants, and basically they like to group them into segments, and they like to put an entrepreneur at the head of one of these segments, whether it's a coffee bar kind of concept, it's a barbecue concept, it's a segment, and it says, okay, I need a strong entrepreneur that's going to run this area for us, that's going to see other opportunity for us, that's going to bring other people in and help us expand those other opportunities. And for us, as we start developing and we start bringing in people into our local economy that we're going to be building and growing with, we want those people. We need those people to be entrepreneurial in spirit, because we need them to say, okay, I see an opportunity here, and this is where I come from, and this is my neighborhood here, and I grew up over here, and if you just come with me and we go 5 minutes over this way. And that's the great thing about Winston. In 5 minutes, you're in a whole nother zip code. I go from in New York where I live, there's, I don't know, 45 zip codes in Manhattan or whatever it is. And it could take you a half an hour to drive a mile, or 2 miles or whatever it is. But in Winston, if you go for a 5-minute ride, the landscape has changed. You're in a different neighborhood, a different community. Sometimes it's less than that. If you're standing in Innovation Quarter or on Bailey Park and you look to and you're facing Wake and you look to the right and you look to the left, it's such a different world on both sides of where those are. And you're going to have people coming from both sides of the highway, right? And you're going to have people coming from both sides, from all different parts of this community. And if you just listen to them and let them bring you to their communities and show different opportunities, we can then help them create opportunity and further entrepreneurship in neighborhoods where they're born, where they come from, where they want to be, and really get into those communities. And usually the cost of entry on some of those things is not that high. And when you can deal with people, again, when it comes to really good partners in the community, we're going to want to help build out and give other people ways to grow into different things. Why not? How does that not benefit the community as a whole? How does it not benefit any single development that we may be working on if all of a sudden we have 1 or 2 people that want to stretch into different communities and want to have this entrepreneurial spirit? We think it's just critical to constantly growing. We look at it as an idea, and people talk about, you're always moving forward, always moving forward. But again, it's really important to have that path of opportunity, or else you're not going to be able to maintain leadership. You're not going to be able to maintain your positions. You're constantly going to be training people. You're constantly going to be bringing new people in, and you're not going to be able to keep people earning more money doing things and so on and so forth. So I think that's how we look at entrepreneurship, and it's all kind of part of the focus of what we want and what we believe in. But then it's really important for people to step up and say, I want to do this and this is why, and we'll help you build that out, and let's figure it out, and let's give you a path to do that. And who knows, maybe that's the next great Shake Shack, maybe that's the next great this or that, because that's how those things are born, you know. And really what we found is you put a group of smart people and hardworking people in a room and you put them working together on a project, and pretty soon you have some ideas that you didn't think of, and pretty soon you have a bunch of people getting excited about someone else's idea, about someone else's dream, and about someone else. And then if we can figure out how to monetize that and put someone in business and do something for themselves that we can all share in and participate in, then I mean, right, that's an amazing path.
Awesome. Margaret, do you have any thoughts? Like how can we, do you feel that the local food entrepreneurs know where to go to get the resources they need? I know obviously they know about you. Are there ways that our ecosystem can be more supportive to the growers, to the food, the ones that are trying to create businesses? I mean, let us know.
I mean, yeah, it's hard a little bit tricky to answer that question. Do they know where to go? But it's creating places for folks to go, or creating places for ideas to be shared, right? So you do that in one way. So, and in a lot of ways, I think also looking at larger projects that can, and barriers that can be dropped by a collection of entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial thinkers or leaders, or as Keith described so aptly, what we feel is we're just want to be a good tool, right? What we're working on is not our dream, it's somebody else's dream. And if we do our work really well, then those dreams happen. And I really loved so many of the things that you said, Keith. And a couple of things that came to mind, which may answer your question, Margaret, is, it is Winston-Salem, but Winston-Salem is kind of the center of trade a little bit for the rural areas that surround us. So in essence, we're a little bit more than Winston-Salem, because we have 20, 30, 45 minutes out is where a lot of our producers are, right? And and we have amazing urban producers, and we hope to see that grow. So I think it's kind of that two-way street of the rural and the urban, and what we need from both. And again, I think that is about understanding and being in place with other people, with their ideas of what they want to see happen where they are, or an idea that can come to the urban landscape, and thrive and survive. But it's a little bit of both. And the connection, I think the big powerful thing, Margaret, that your organization does and can do even more is just to connect people. Again, I think that echoes something that Keith said, and it's something we certainly believe in. Connecting people and connecting ideas creates, a combustion, and that combustion then takes off. So shared opportunities, whether it's a shared office space, or it's a shared kitchen, or it's a larger, neighborhood that's full of, talented folks trying to figure things out. We've seen this happen as, new areas of town are created because there's just a vitality and a creative vitality that kicks it in, makes it a place you want to be, right? These are the intangibles, but they can be tangible if we are open and we're available and we create those spaces and those connections. So I think that's kind of where I go with it in terms of supporting.
Great. Well, I hope that with this talk on the food economy, we've enlightened people about what could be possible here, and the needs of our local restaurant industry and the growers and the producers, and the possibilities. So that's really important, so that people understand that there's a need and how they could get involved.
Call us.
Yes.
Call us. We'll come. We'll come to you. This has been fun. Zoom. Be in person.
Yeah. If you want, if Misty, if you'd like to put, your contact information about Beta Verde, if you want to put that in the chat for anybody on the call that might want to reach out to Margaret Norfleet-Neff locally. And I would just like to open it up. Does anyone have any questions of this illustrious team? you can unmute and ask your questions. Great, thank you, Misty. She put that's how you reach out to Margaret and her amazing assistant director, Misty Gabriel. They are an awesome duo that really know about food and everything about food here in Winston-Salem.
I also have there's also the co-founder of both Cobblestone and Beta Verde. My daughter Salem is on as well. So I just wanted to give her a shout out because we wouldn't be where we are without that great young mind too. So.
That's great. Thank you. Oh, welcome, Salem. So glad that you're here. So questions. I know that
I have a question.
Okay.
Margaret, you mentioned local and regional grocery systems. And I worked for Renaissance Community Co-op previously in Greensboro. And that was really interesting for me and opened my eyes to kind of the food economy world and cooperatives as well. But I was wondering if you could expand a little bit more on what a local and regional grocery system would look like a dream lens, what it could look like and how and how it would work in this area.
Oh, Nicole, would you like to join our brain trust on this?
Oh yes, I would love to. I love the local economy in this area.
Well, and we don't have the ideal, but and I want to loop Keith and some of his knowledge of the experience that he's had in cities and also understanding like ghost kitchens and a ton of different things like that and how products are made. But just to give you a small example of one that we started working on, not for Winston, but for Cambridge, Maryland, which was a small town. We have a project there that's built around food, farm, and fish that's getting ready to open in September. And the grocery would look something like what's available during your quote growing season, right? What are all the things that you want to get from, just for say June to September, October, May, whatever, just whether you start with lettuces and peas and all these things, and then you get into the, the palooza of tomatoes and watermelon and incredible roots coming on and peppers and all this stuff. But then, you're hit winter, right? And we're talking different regions. So I'll kind of stick with the East Coast, which I know a little bit better. I know that there's other barriers and other tricks to other parts of the country. Mm-hmm. But so then from an economical standpoint, we have growers, but then we have value add producers. So during the growing season, you have an opportunity for value add folks to start putting up, whether it's frozen, it's whatever, into really cool, whatever bags, jars, boxes, tomatoes, all these different vegetables that are growing, and you're capturing them fresh so that you don't lose the nutritional value and you don't lose the taste value. And that becomes part of your winter supply. The other component is that in our area, our folks are going year round now, right? So our market goes year round. It certainly gets leaner in the winter, but it's become less lean in the winter because there are more opportunities to keep growing certain things. Now, if you want strawberries and asparagus every day for 365 days, you're not going to get that, but that's okay. I mean, you can.
Yeah, I went blueberry picking am I muted? I went blueberry picking in North Carolina last June, masked up and everything. And then I think as it got colder, obviously the blueberry picking patches, they shut down. But I went to Cobblestone and it was the same price as if I went to pick. And it was this huge bag of blueberries that I'm still eating right now. So yeah, it's been great for my smoothies and everything.
Yeah, and there's already incredible businesses doing value add stuff in North Carolina. So it's not even inventing it anymore, but you begin to create a place where people go, oh, right, I can cook this way in the summer, I can cook this way in the winter. And what are those different things? And so it's getting inside of the head of the customer, making sure you've got all the options, but the larger percentage comes from your regional producers. And then you break it up. So that's just a glimpse of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna have to draw this to a close soon. Is is there any other final question?
We have one more question from Lisa Fox. I would love to share this amazing conversation with, well, she just wants to have the recording. So yes, the recording will be available, Lisa. And if, like Margaret said, if anyone has any other questions, let us know, but the recording will be available and sent out via email after this.
So I want to thank Margaret and Keith for an amazing conversation. They are so knowledgeable about the food and the food economy. And before we do that, if they would like to make one last statement about the kind of what it's going to look like, what is it going to take for Winston-Salem to really kind of emerge into its full potential. Closing statement.
I think just briefly for me, I think what we need to kind of understand is it's kind of a merging of the local leadership, universities, colleges, all the different groups of people, and that's really what's important to us. Getting everybody together, like getting some focus and creating some opportunity, some educational opportunities, career path, and with people willing to reinvest in the local economy there. I think if we have those people all kind of working together, we know that the rest of the opportunity is there. So for us, we're excited to kind of get into it and really get to know the community better as we start building out what it is that we see coming. So we're excited about it all. Thanks for both Margarets. I really appreciate it. I actually it was great, and really looking forward to getting to spend more time with the whole group down there.
Well,
Thank you, Margaret.
I'm just gonna say, this has been so much fun. I think we need to keep going, Keith, and thank you so much for bringing all these ideas. And I just can't wait to see what you guys keep unfolding and how you unpeel this onion. My feeling is the more the merrier, and the more collaboration, the better, and the more communication, transparency, and kind of cheerleading for all of the embracing of food makers, food producers, and the culinary and hospitality talents. Just it becomes part of the fabric of our community, and everybody gets to shine. So there you go. Thanks.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so thank you all for joining us today. We will be back in April with another opportunity to share some interesting things. Again, we are Momentum, the Center for Creative Economy, on April. What is it? April 15th. Yes, will be our next event. We are going to have now a mini series on creative technologies, things that are helping shape our world. We've kind of concluded our Bonfire series, and we're going to now work more toward really interesting products and services in the world that use creative technologies. We will again be sourcing our speakers from all around the country, as well as locally right here in the Triad. So please continue to join us. We're usually on the third Thursday of every month, and we would look forward to working with you. They put to talking with you. We put the link in the chat if you would like to join us next month. And thank you very, very much for joining us. I want to thank Margaret and Keith for being available and helping us. And I also want to thank our sponsors. Bank OZK is one of the sponsors of the Momentum, and also the Forsyth County. They've been really instrumental in helping us bring this series to you every month. So thank you very much. And please connect with us on our social media channels. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all of them. So connect with us, share this information. I know someone said they really liked it. So share it out, and Nicole will be putting it on our social channels. If you were a registered attendant today, you'll get a link to the link for the video, and you'll be able to kind of see what's gonna, you'll be able to follow it and share it with other people. So please do that. So thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next month, and thanks again to Margaret and Keith. You can take the slide.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you so much. You all did an amazing job. We really, really appreciate it. So have a great day. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Bye.